So it's great to be back, and it's good to see some of my clients in the room as well. So hello, clients. So give me 10 minutes. The clock started. In the spirit of hospitality innovation, there's projects we can and can't talk about, but I thought what might be most interesting today is to share a little bit about how we do things. Our clients and operators are really interested in our creative process. The creative process for us is founded around our wheelhouse of hospitality. Obviously, we look at 4 different pillars: hotels, F&B, spa, and our private collections. But our process is about inventive storytelling. Our deep research is the foundation of how we craft what we do. And ultimately, it's about how we mirror theatre, that concept of theatrics and the performance of spaces. We take that as a red thread all the way through our design. We say we design stories. So our clients see our process. This session's called Makers 26/24. Obviously, we're going to do an A to Z of our design process, and we're talking about this year, 2024. We like to think our industry is a bit secretive. We don't like to share our sort of in-house secrets about how we do it. But for us and our friends in hospitality, we're very transparent and we're quite open to this idea. So our distorted view of design starts like this. When we think about our A to Z, the actors in hospitality are really important. Certainly with the operators in the room, we actually care very strongly in our design process about who those actors are. We're talking about the operations, how we're greeted, etc. But we do care about, in this particular example, you know, if we can invent or create a persona for a particular actor, that's important. The example on the top is a lift operator for a hotel we're doing in Shanghai. And the lift attendant is his role, but he has a passion and he has a secret. These are the sort of things that we think about which are important to creating a persona. So the idea that he is a tattoo artist and he's a magician. So when you go on the bullet lift up to the top floor of the hotel, he's creating a little bit of magic as well. So we like the idea of creating these personas. Actors are important for us. Bold and the big idea. For us, we always come up with the big idea. So the big idea in any of our projects is how the world will remember this particular hotel or project. It's really important that the client understands it, that we understand it with them. We go on the journey as a marriage together, and we set that foundation very early on. So this is an example that we did, I worked on a few years ago in the W in Abu Dhabi. Classic cinema is also something that we think a lot about in terms of our research. We don't scroll through the sort of endless, Pinterest images that have been well sort of spoken about, but we think about all different kinds of mediums. There's so much film and cinema, even with Netflix these days, there's so much inspiration. So this image here was the main heart of the hotel, if you will, for Steigenberger Porsche Design Hotel. And it's inspired by the image on the top, the Stanley Kubrick film, Dr. Strangelove, which is, I know a lot of people have seen this. It's a beautiful scene. But what we liked about it is the fact that it was the war room scene where all the world leaders are gathered around one circular table. So there was a sense of equality and a democracy. There was no bad seat at the table. There's this iconic light hanging down. Literally, the spirit of that scene is what inspired us. So we called this space the Platz, a homage to our client and the brand. But you can see exactly what we're inspired by. So classic film. A recent project, we've just been awarded in Saudi for DGDA. What we liked about this project is actually more that it was one of the first opened and delivered projects for this particular client in Saudi and in Riyadh. But it's UNESCO World Heritage. For us, we had to do a lot of research on what Najd architecture was. We know we have a lot of clients from Saudi here as well. For us, we started afresh. We had no prior understanding of what Najd architecture was, so we worked a lot with local consultants and the client's design team to establish what that was. And this was an experience center we opened up about a year ago. Ethical sourcing, I know it's slightly overstated type topic, but for us it goes right through to the way we think about even our spas, wellness, F&B, obviously to do with our particular FF&E design and our supply chain as well. But it really is something that we continue to think about and research. We have a whole supplier evaluation criteria, so all of our suppliers that we ever specify have to satisfy this criteria. We do that internally so we understand that there's a proper reason why we select certain people. Jumping forward, film. I mean, as I mentioned, Netflix is there's a proliferation of so much media at the moment, but we get inspired by certain things. So you see that some of these images here do create inspiration for lighting effects for us. The way we want people to walk into a space and how they'll be illuminated, either in silhouette or in full light, or as you can see in some of these examples. So we actually use film, again, modern film and television, if you will, in ways to inspire some of our interior spaces as well. This was a project that we created called House of Beats, one of the 5 world's first brands that we've created over the last 4 years. This project's in Shanghai, and just to show you, even the opening verse of a very popular song, Glittering Prize by Simple Minds, that actually was the spirit of how we created the brand. There's a spontaneity about how that music starts, and at the moment that music starts is the way you should enter into the space with an energy. So we like to show our clients and our operator clients about how we get inspired. Sometimes it's just from a couple of lyrics and the way sound actually presents itself in terms of an inspiration. This is also another space that we created called the high-low. So this just shows you we also often are inventing new area programs. In a way, we're working obviously with our operator clients, but we want to give it some sort of sense of authenticity. So the high-low is about, it's somewhere highly positioned in the hotel. This was a top floor. Again, that lift attendant accessing straight up to this level. But it's for locals only. It's to encourage bringing the community in. So there's always an ecosystem of events, installations, art. There's also artists and resident spaces as well. There's celebrity chefs, etc. So the idea that the high-low was a brand or an element that we created, but the sense of, for the betterment of the community, I think it's important for us as well. Our research process is called If and How. We discovered this from working on that W some years ago in Abu Dhabi. And it's really the ex-branding guy of Nike was using this in terms of his marketing approach. So that if something is important, how do we apply it? So that's kind of basic. But for us, the example here, the lady in the image with the sort of the selfie ring, etc., was the if. This was important. For interesting reasons of W, the idea of image was and the idea of mirage and being bold. But you can see beside it on the top left, that how does that sort of translate into interior design? So this is just a process. But we do this for context, which is, a lot of architects and designers do that, but we also do it for social fabric, so the kind of the intangible events, etc., and things like that, and also historical events as well. Journeys, pretty self-explanatory, but obviously we're, with, again, Saudi emerging and Dubai being, again, one of the new global world cities. There's always a narration around how guests arrive, even before they're off the plane, to the way they exit the resort or the hotel as well. And we think about hyper-personalization really being a key into the ultra-luxury segment as well. We create sonic identity. I think this is one of the things that I love and most passionate about when we share with our operator clients. That what's the sound of your hotel? What's the sound of your restaurant? And for us, we work with a gentleman who's based out of Bali. He works with W Hotels around the world. He's got an amazing recording studio. So we're talking about not music tracks. We're talking about creating musical score, like you do in cinema. What's the indigenous sounds of that space, and how do you apply that into, as I arrive into this lobby, I want to know that I'm in Indonesia. I want to know that I'm in Tokyo, etc. But then the sense of musical score, it has to be original. So that's the idea that we work and we develop some of these spaces with our clients as well. Literature, again, basic idea, but we use all sorts of literature. We use actual movie scripts, inspiration from key descriptive lines out of even film scripts, obviously books and novels. Our manifesto is we design mirrors theatre. For us, that has 4 parts. So it quite simply is the bottom left image is the establishment of a script is important. Scenography is the second image. We showed you the famous war room scene. The third image is the actors, which we spoke about at the outset, and finally the audience. In hospitality, that's the guest, and clearly in Hospitality Innovation Summit, we find that this is the deepest and simplest manifestation of how design mirrors theatre, and we take that through all of our designs. Nourishment for us is really around wellness is as much an F&B program as it is actually for the physical well-being as well, and we look at indigenous products and ingredients, etc. Operational style, there's a lot of new movers in this market in terms of creating fashion design. We work with a company, Lolo Creative. They're based out of Paris and London. And you can see one of our projects over in Frankfurt. The greeter and the front desk agent basically had their own sort of tailored sort of style. So we actually like to have this as an iterative process with our developer and operator clients to be, I guess, a continuation of how the design can actually inform the uniforms, etc., and even to the small accessories as well, you can see. We're inspired by poster art, the graphics, the fonts, the motifs, even the sense of drama and theatrics around that. We're also inspired, so we just show you different kinds of mediums. Quintessentially, hospitality for us, everyone in this room has some deep appreciation for hospitality. This is the industry that we're in. This is what the summit's all about. So we always encourage our team and our design team globally to take time, research, go and see what's interesting. Soulfulness is important, the intangible qualities of design. Take time. That's what we always try and encourage with our clients, to understand how a guest is going to occupy the space. We have rituals that we care about. We invent rituals as well in terms of the guest program, things like art walks, etc., for particular brands, and obviously the sense of a project in Germany, creating this beautiful lighting, the transition of day into evening, which I think is important as well. Sonography, as I said, I love this Albert Hitchcock image. It's quite funny, but it really is a way we sort of think about things. We pull our mediums in and then we deliver them out in different ways. So we talked about the different kinds of mediums of film, etc., that we take in. But what we push out of the ideas of the big moves, the sonic identity, and our Trezzo are really important for us as well. A recent project we've done up in Ras El Khaimah for Waldorf Astoria was the clock. This was such an amazing element of that particular hotel. We all know it. But part of the renovation work that we did was to actually create more of an honouring of the clock, because it had previously a lot of FF&E around it, etc. So we rethought that. We did our research back to the original one in New York, which was a gift from Queen Victoria, and then we replanned around it. So just showing you that there's definitely a lot of research to be done. Unapologetically bold for us. This is actually, people think it's a rendering, it's a photograph. This is the retail of the W in Abu Dhabi. So again, the sense of being bold. We love bold clients. We love go on the adventure with us with respect to how we design. That's important to us. Vignettes, we call these storyboards. It's again a bit like film. We actually show these images very early on to describe what are going to be the most important parts of your hotel. We explain that very early on, so the client's aware of what's going to be the most, what we believe, shared through social media, and then we start to develop design around that. So these are some examples there. The Misting Bridge, which is a project in Yanbu in the Red Sea. We say we design stories. These are two examples here of a novelist, Thomas Mann, who actually occupied for many years inside the Frankfurter Hof in Frankfurt. And the actual Rosemary Nitschebrit, the top story, she was a infamous lady of the night who was mysteriously murdered, and she was always known to be with, or be seen to be with, politicians and famous people at this particular hotel. It was an unsolved crime, but the idea is she always drove this iconic Mercedes-Benz, and we designed some of the spaces inspired by the shape of the car, and she always had a little signature dog called Joe. So we actually like to use this research to inspire some of the spaces. We do collaborate with a lot of really good other consultants. We have got no agreements with these companies, but we do like to work with people who have a similar philosophy, certainly with respect to fashion design, signage, wayfinding, etc. Yanbu, again, we're very privileged to have worked on a project recently which won an award also in Saudi, the Red Sea. The idea of creating a new kind of market for the GCC audience on the coast, floating accommodation, beautiful wellness program, etc. So we used the very difficult letter Y for that project, and of course we get close to the end, our rooms. At the end of the day, rooms for us are very important. They are, when we create designs, we do care a lot about all of the touch points. Our clients and operators know this, and we're happy to go on the journey to research every single time. So that's my 10 minutes. Thank you very much for a very, very short presentation. We'll be around to answer any questions, but thank you.